Hey, packaging peeps, it's Evelio Matos on Package Design Unboxed. I want to do an unboxing today for you. I received a package from our sponsor, idpdirect.com. This is their e-com mailer. They've got some product samples in here, some cool stuff that I've seen on their website and some of their LinkedIn posts. And I asked them to send me some samples, and they've done so. So I'm going to crack this thing open. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about this mailer. So it looks to be like it's an E-flute corrugated board. For mailer, the printing on here is either a silk screen or a white UV ink. On the front here, it says differences are made and celebrated together, which I love that. Make a difference with plastic-free e-commerce packaging. If we flip this over, you've got a rip open, enjoy, recycle. And if you know me, I love a tear strip. Anytime I can rip into the box and it's a specific way for me to enter the packaging, I think is great. When you compare it to me having to go find a razor blade, an X-Acto knife, a pair of scissors, whatever it's going to take to cut open tape to get into the box is already a fail. So when you dictate how a consumer gets into the pack, that's 100% a win. Now on the back of here, it also says, this fiber-based corrugated mailer replaces plastic envelopes with a returnable and 100% recyclable solution. So two things, returnable, probably a secondary adhesive in here. So when I tear this thing open, if this was a shirt and it didn't fit, I could put it back in, reseal it, send it back. Why is that important? It's important for the brand to be able to accept product back the way they sent it, because it reduces the amount of waste and you're considering return logistics, right? How are you getting that product back in terms of return? With so many brands returning so many products, or so many consumers returning so many products to brands, it helps control the quality of the return. It makes a better customer experience. It also calls out that it's 100% recyclable solution. Poly bags are a big conversation right now. This is what every brand is talking about. How do I get rid of poly bags? Because they're plastic and they are not accepted in recycling centers. At least in the US, they're not, which is a huge market. So brands are moving to paper mailers, corrugated mailers to get away from poly mailers. Poly mailers are, they're lighter, they're easier to make. There's just, hands down, those things have a really green story. The part of the story that falls apart is the fact that the end of that story doesn't end with the product being recycled. It ends with that product being landfilled or incinerated. So, or even worse, it actually ends up in the ocean. And we've seen what happens there. With a paper, with a paper mailer like this goes in my recycle bin, it gets recycled 100%. And let's say, for example, this thing, this fell into the ocean for some reason. If you've ever spilled water or juice on your homework or your paperwork, you know what happens to your paper. The fibers absorb all the moisture, they swell up, and basically that paper begins to fall apart. So that's what's going to happen to something like this if it does end up in a waterway. So let's get into this box here. And I'm going to rip open this box. So tear strip came apart pretty perfectly. When I open this up here on the inside, it says, all of our packaging, including our e-commerce packaging, is designed, printed, and manufactured at our own factories. International Direct Packaging wants to be your factory. Let's talk. So whether it's IDP Direct or your brand, having some type of secondary messaging here, you've got an invitation happening here, and then you've got a welcome happening here, right? Just think about that consumer and every step that they're taking to get into your pack. That's what you want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to talk to them. Now, this is really cool because this is what I saw on their LinkedIn. This is what I saw that they had shared. And this is one of IDP's patented box constructions. Now I'm going to take this apart here because they put a couple other products in here too. Set those down. This thing is insane. Now what this is their patented insert that ships flat. I mean, it's as flat as a pancake and it holds product. So when I see these corners here, when I see these corners, these die cuts, that tells me it's like a simplex style. So basically I fold this up, I tuck those corners in with my fingers. You can see that here. Then when I bring this over, I just have to push those panels in. So that was pretty easy. It was a little hard for me because I'm trying to do it on camera, but if I just do it, it's pretty straightforward. So now I've got a three-dimensional piece. Now, what do these things do? It's that easy. That was crazy. So you just push this in, and now you got 3 cavities. They're full depth. You know, you've got this paper. You can hear that it's a dense paper. Yeah, I mean, look how cool that is. So from a fulfillment standpoint, if I had 3 products, 3 jars, whatever's going in here, I just have to I can ship these flat with my flat boxes. Then they just pop these open, throw the product in there, close the box, ship it out. You've got there's definitely a good amount of space down below. The fact that it's this paper on the bottom, you're going to get a little bit of movement happening there with that product in transit, but that's not a bad thing. That's sometimes you need a little bit of movement to essentially act as a shock absorber. So definitely cool construction. I can't believe how they came up with this thing. Because typically on something like this, you would see these die cuts happening, and then maybe there'd be another box underneath, or there wouldn't be a box at all. It would just be a die cut, and your product fits in there and it rests on the inside of the other box. So this definitely gives you a lot of control, which is really cool. Again, this is one of their patented concepts. They have a lot of different ideas, a lot of different concepts that they've done. Oh, and then this is another one of their patented designs. Now this just looks like a box. So I'm going to show you. This is like a flat piece. It looks like there's handles on it. Comes together. And you pull these guys out, and it basically assembles. You can see it's flat, and then now it's not flat. From here, I close it. All right, so you go like that, and then it closes like that. The part where they've patented this, they've designed this, they've implemented this, and what they told me is that they've used this for a couple of years now, is a magnet-free closure. So you can see where the split happens here. Usually on something like this, there's going to be 2 magnets on the flap, and then 2 magnets on the inner box. But they've designed a way to eliminate that. And what they do is they have this little tab. You can see that tab pops out, and that's what holds this thing closed. Now you could add additional adhesive strips here, on these corners, so that this stays assembled. There's probably an insert that goes into this thing, but just from a design standpoint. Oh, and these handles, they're paper. So look at that. So the entire box construction is 100% paper, 100% recyclable, no magnets. And from a recycling standpoint, not having magnets in your packaging is a definite win. 100%, especially today when raw earth materials are so expensive. Magnets tend to be, really expensive, and pricing is pretty volatile. They've also included this bag with these super long handles, which I love. You have to think about your consumer if they're shopping, and this is for Giorgio Armani. This is for Giorgio Armani La Prima, and it looks like the handles are long enough to go over your shoulder and carry them right here, which is perfect, right? If you're shopping, you want something you can throw over your shoulder. And these handles, well, these handles are also paper, and I don't know if you can see that texture. Let me see. There you go. So you can see that texture. It's like a twill. It's like a double V or a W twill happening, and they feel super soft. So I didn't even realize that those were paper. Pop this bag together. There's a bottom board in here, and you've got a pretty sweet bag. There is a foil stamp happening here. One thing with foil stamps is that as long as you're under 40% foil coverage, your product still remains recyclable. If you've got a large area of foil, there's a chance that when that goes across an infrared scanner to tell it what material that is, it might scan it as the foil. It might think it is a poly-based product, so it'll go with plastics, which then screws that part of the separation up. But if you've got less than 40% coverage over the entire thing, not just per face, if you've got less than 40%, then it's going to scan as paper. There's a high degree of probability that it's going to be scanned as paper. So you're not really impacting anything else. On the bottom here, so on the bottom here, it says Armani Sustainability Project. 100% paper. Knitted paper fiber handles are 100% recyclable. that's kind of cool. Just, again, a way to trying to get this to focus here. Just to get a way for the consumers to understand that this entire bag is recyclable. The handles are paper, and really they feel almost like cotton. They just feel like a stiff, like a starched cotton. So these are pretty cool. So I just want to thank, the team over at IDP Direct for shooting these over. If you're interested in finding out more about them, it's learn more at idpdirect.com. So you can check them out at idpdirect.com. I do love this envelope, and check this out. It's like printed all the way in. Are you going to see the inside of that envelope? Probably not. But when you open it up to put your hand in there to pull out whatever your product is, you're going to see that. And that chevron pattern is obviously pulling you into the bag, into this envelope. Pretty cool. Again, just consider everything that you're doing when your consumer's unboxing your product. I just noticed on the inside here, I don't know if you can see that. This has a texture. So this is actually has an embossed texture on the interior of this corrugate. And you don't see it on the outside, which is really cool. Because again, you open this up and you feel that it's not a typical experience that you're going to get from cardboard, from a corrugated cardboard, right? This is, this feels definitely a lot more luxe. And I think if you're a luxury brand, if you're trying to position yourself in that luxury space, all these details matter, from invitation to a welcoming to change of contrast textures, all the details and messaging and print processes, all these different things matter. So make sure that you're considering all of those things. And if you can eliminate magnets, eliminate poly bags, then you're on your way. Any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe and check out the podcast. All right, guys, thanks so much. Thank you, idpdirect.com. We'll see you soon.